in Brussels.
Vielen Dank, Herr Kamall. Das Wort hat jetzt für die liberale Fraktion Herr Verhofstadt.
Thank you very much, Chair. So, first thing what I want to do is to thank Jean-Claude Juncker for his words to my country, to Belgium. And also, I agree with him that what we have not to do now is to repeat the ritual of speaking strong words and solemn declarations. That the moment is there now to act and to do a number of changes. And I agree fully with you, and that's the opposite of what Mr. Kamal is saying, is the fragmentation who is the problem in Europe. And say everything, yeah, our intelligence service and police service have to work better with each other. Well, I can tell you, we hear that already decades, Mr. Kamal. This so-called recipe. It's not a recipe. We need European capacities. And that's also the lesson from history. What did the Americans? The Federal Bureau of Investigation was created in 1901 after a terrorist attack where the McKinley, the president at that moment of the US, was killed. And then they decided to do so. And in Germany, exactly the same story. The Bundeskriminalamt was upgraded and was really created as a federal agency after the Rote Armee Fraktion terrorist attacks. That was their lesson from history. And it's time, Mr. Kamal, that your group is also taking that lesson, that we create European capacities and European capabilities to solve the problem. Because, let's be honest, let's face the reality. I have here the long list of all terrorist attacks of the last year. In Madrid, they were known by the French and the British police. In London, they were followed and even partially arrested by the French police. The London attackers, the attackers who did the London bombing. And the attacker in the Jewish Museum in Brussels was a French terrorist who was known by the French authorities and even by the German intelligence service. In Charlie Hebdo, the same story. They were known by the British authority before the attacks. The same with Abdel Salam, who was not stopped at this roadblock in Cambrai because the French didn't have it in their files, while the Belgians know very well who was Abdel Salam. And the same with what the Germans did a few weeks before the attacks in Paris. They found weapons and they didn't inform their French colleagues at that moment. The same now again in the attacks in Brussels, where apparently the Swedish had information and have not sent that to the Belgian authorities. How many attacks, Mr. Kamal, are there still needed before everybody understands that we need on the European level a real investigation capacity as fast as possible? And let's face it, let's face the reality. We have the possibility to do so. Terrorists don't know borders. It's only our police services and our intelligence service who know borders. And we have a possibility. We have the possibility now to change that, to build that up, Mr. Avramopoulos, because we have the file on Europol. We have finished the second reading. My proposal is to use the second reading between Parliament and Council to do a few amendments, not to delay it again by the end of the year, but immediately in the coming weeks. And I think to three changes that can be done. First of all, changing the regulation of Europol in Article 1 and 3 and to give them the possibility for an investigation capacity and not only coordination. First proposal. My second proposal is that in Article 6 of the regulation, we give finally to Europol the possibility to launch an investigation or to oblige national authorities to do so. They don't have even that possibility today. And then finally, maybe the most important problem, Article 7 of the regulation, Mr. Avramopoulos, today, is that the national authorities of Europol have to filter the information towards Europol. I thought it was the opposite what they have to do. That is to transfer the relevant data to Europol. So my proposal is that instead now of talking again about coordination, cooperation, I have enough of these words, that we build up and that we use the Europol file to put that in place. And also to change, naturally, the role of the European prosecutor. Because the European prosecutor cannot only be responsible for financial fraud. We need to change also that, so that the prosecutor is responsible also for transnational crimes like, for example, terrorism. So that's my proposal. Instead now of, in the coming weeks, fixing a little bit an old file of Europol, to use it in the coming weeks to make a leap forward and to do what the Americans have already done 115 years ago. Thank you.
Herr Verhofstadt, der Kollege Albrecht wollte Ihnen eine Frage stellen. Bitte sehr.
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Es wird meine letzte Rückfrage sein. Und ich hoffe, dass ich nicht noch mal wieder für eine faktische Rückfrage beleidigt werde. In jedem Fall geht es mir um die Frage, Sie